When Shrouded Fable launches on August 1st in Pokemon TCG Live, it'll finally be time to play with your Wang again. If you watched my Shrouded Fable preview video, this shouldn't come as much of a sandy shock since you know all about the new United Wings Dartrix. But there's a lot more than just the owl coming in the next set to reunite the wings. Let's Dartrix with Dartrix. Thanks to this little guy, you can now have 16 United Wings cards in your deck, upping your damage potential from 240 to 320. That's huge because I don't know if you've looked at Stage 2 EX Pokemon lately, but they have over 300 hit points. Despite how absolutely busted Dartrix is against Charizard EX, I looked at the winning list from Japan's first week of Shrouded Fable, and only a couple attacked with it. This list here includes 2 Rowlet, allowing you to hit them with Dartrix, potentially taking advantage of weakness on Charizard, and not much else since Pecharunt EX and the Loyal 3 are weak to fighting. The added benefit of Dartrix is that it attacks for a colorless energy, meaning you don't have to chuck in a grass or luminous energy. You can stick with your double turbo energy, which is for Flamigo and Wattrel, as well as your darkness energy, which is for Murkrow. But unless Charizard EX storms back to become the best deck in format, which it might based on early Japanese results, your main attackers in United Wings will remain Flamigo, Wattrel, Murkrow, and of course, Ditto. With the Twilight Masquerade update in Pokemon TCG Live last month, Ditto is broken in the game, causing freezing issues if you put it into play. But this might be fixed as a byproduct of the Palafin EX update, which is happening on Monday, June 17th. So assuming Ditto is fixed, the strategy with United Wings in the Shrouded Fable meta will remain the same as it's always been. Get as many Wangs in your discard pile as possible, then attack with your low HP basics. Except now you have to hope they aren't playing Dragapult EX. Moving to the rest of the new cards in Shrouded Fable, we have Fezandipiti EX Kyurem and Nightly Stretcher. While all 3 of them saw heavy play on the first 2 days of the new format, I think players in Japan saw they weren't perfect. This resulted in 3 different main versions of United Wings winning store tournaments. Still, the utility for these new options is there. Fezandipiti is definitely a useful card. If one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's turn, you can use its ability to draw 3 cards. We saw this same effect used regularly with Oricorio GX in the Baby Blacephalon deck several years ago, but that format didn't have a million ways to gust bench sitters like Fezandipiti. So like Squawkabilly EX, it'll always be a liability, which makes at least 1 copy of Collapsed Stadium all but necessary. This way you can bump one of your exes from play, like they're your ex-wife trying to come to your son's 8th birthday party with their new boyfriend who tries to one-up you by dressing up as Spider-Man, denying 2 easy prize cards. As for Kyurem, it's there for 1 matchup and 1 matchup only, Lost Box. United Wings has always struggled against decks that can spread damage and damage counters. Kyurem at least gives you a chance against this one. If they have Colress's Experiment or the new Colress's Thickacity in their discard pile, Kyurem can attack for a single colorless energy. And the attack is insane, dealing 110 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. Previously, which I guess is currently, the only way for United Wings to hit bench Pokemon was with Kill a Wattrel. It does 10 damage for each Pokemon in your discard pile with the United Wings attack. But since it has to evolve from Wattrel, the maximum you can snipe in the new build is 150 damage, and that's if everything is going perfectly. But now Kyurem gives you a way to knock out Comfey, Cramorant, and Sableye all in the same turn, evening the odds. And for the last new card, there's Nightly Stretcher. Since we lost Rescue Carrier to rotation, United Wings has been missing a good Pokemon recovery card. Yeah, there's Super Rod, but that shuffles Pokemon and energy back into your deck, forcing you to search for the Pokemon you need. That's way too difficult. Nightly Stretcher simply puts a Pokemon or basic energy from your discard pile directly into your hand. Now you can easily get back your Ditto and keep attacking. Another key component of United Wings is the whole discarding thing. While the Squawkabilly is good early, it's only useful on turn 1 and not really consistent. Liepard is everything you need, but why purd Liepard over Kirlia? Well, it has the same exact ability, 20 more hit points, 1 less retreat cost, and can even attack in a pinch, though it'll likely never do more than 40 damage. The downside with Liepard is that while there's 3 different Purloin in Standard, they only have 60 hit points, making them easy Dragapult targets. That leads into the next part, the bad matchups. Dragapult EX being chief among them. Before you go spending all your money on a shiny United Wings deck, it looks like it'll be better than Thwacky Dipplin, but not by much. It's going to be faster, that's for sure. Where Dipplin needs to wait a turn to get set up, United Wings can be swinging for 100 damage or more on turn 1 going second. From there, the amount of damage you deal depends solely on how many wings you can get in the discard pile. So like Lightning McQueen, you gotta go fast. You sacrifice consistency for that speed, but overall it should make it better than Thwacky Dipplin. Though ironically, United Wings will have a terrible matchup against Thwacky Dipplin. That's because of the low HP Pokemon. You're going to have to rely on Ditto quite a bit against spread decks. With Dragapult EX taking a KO on your active every turn, and able to spread 6 damage counters to the bench, they can take essentially a free prize on a naked Wattrel or Murkrow. So Ditto will be able to survive Phantom Dive pings, but even then, Dragapult can just spread the counters to Liepard or Fezandipiti or Squawkabilly, while you're desperately trying to get your Wang in the discard pile to one-shot a Dragapult EX, which will take far more turns than you'll likely have. Like I said before, Lost Box is also a tough matchup because of Sableye, and Radiant Greninja can do serious damage if you don't get Manaphy down early. Sure, you could play a 1-1 line of Rabsca to protect against the major threats, but again, you have to go fast with this deck. Rabsca isn't fast, and if you prize it, at least with Manaphy you can find it with Heavy Ball, as the deck plays at least one. Oh, and Iron Hands EX is very rough. But enough of the bad matchups. The good matchups are 2-prize decks that don't really skip ahead, so Raging Bolt's Ogerpon is great, same with Chien-Pao EX if your Manaphy holds strong, and Charizard EX is going to be decent as well, especially if you go for the Rowlet build. Overall, there's going to be 3 separate ways to play United Wings when Shrouded Fable launches on August 1st, and all of them have their pros and cons. The first is straightforward. Get all your wings in the discard pile with Research, Carmine, Ultra Ball, and the spicy Grant, then attack with Ditto and draw cards with Fezandipiti when somebody gets knocked out. Secret Box is the A-spec to not only discard cards from hand, but to find an item, tool, supporter, and stadium. The second build focuses on Liepard. A 3-3 line seems to be the choice as it prevents any dumb prizing issues, but you could always go down to a 2-2. Liepard helps you get more wings in the discard pile while also drawing cards, so Fezandipiti becomes useless. This version also removes Kyurem and Nightly Stretcher, making Dartrix the only new card. And it's up to you whether you want to go hard on Carmine for the possible turn 1 power, or if you want to go with the less destructive Iono instead. The third is all about attacking with Dartrix. It's basically that first list, except less recovery because now you have a potential 2 extra attackers. I'm a little concerned about this version because there's less consistency, but being able to easily one-shot a Charizard EX can't be overlooked. Oh, and although it's not included in this list, someone from Japan did use Legacy Energy as their A-spec, and I honestly think that's awesome. So will United Wings finally reach the heights of Mad Party and Night March? Probably not, but that doesn't mean you can't make 2-prize decks cry with your army of birds. So long as you go fast, it should have a slightly higher win rate than Thwacky Dipplin, potentially settling into Tier 3. Just don't expect it to go winning any regional tournaments. Since we don't have set numbers for cards, I'll put shell deck lists in the comments. Expect complete deck lists in mid-July when I do deeper dives into all the new decks coming in Shrouded Fable.